Everyone, chance to look at the Orange Marathon. It's 5 days post-marathon and time to dissect the race, what worked, what didn't, and what went wrong in me missing out this time on a Boston qualifier. Let's have a look at the clip.
When you're coming back and you're feeling a bit tired, halfway at 30k, I always say the marathon's halfway. 30k. Look up there.
So the morning of the marathon and even the day before, especially the start line, arriving there at the race hub, collecting the bib, getting changed, going for the warm-up run, standing on the start line. I was super proud of myself for that period. One thing I've focused on, especially since late last year with Ridgy Didge and Glenbrook, I really let my anxiety control my approach to the race and also post-race. Let myself get tense, let the anxiety creep up. I was really focused this time on not having that happen, being happy, being in control and being relaxed. And I nailed it beautifully. I had that sense of calmness, that inner calmness on the start line, and really felt that I was ready to do something special. But yeah, super proud of how calm and how in check I kept my anxiety that I've battled with since 2019 at the start line of the Orange Marathon. Once that race began, it was all systems go. My goal pace for the first half, the first 21 Ks, was 4:30 per kilometre. I knew if I could nail that, I could then allow myself to back off a bit, and in the back half, the back 21 Ks, I could let that kilometre pace drop back to 5 minutes a kilometre. So I was going to go out hard and then try and hang on for everything I had.
Hi. Good, how are you? Yeah.
Thank you, Mark.
Go, Andrew. Have a good run.
So here I'm approaching the 8 kilometre drink station thereabouts. Now my plan originally was to have a gel every 10 kilometres, 10, 20, 30 and then 38, 4 Ks from the end. But the drink stations didn't allow that. It was either going to go early at 8 kilometres or wait a bit after 10. The fact that it was warming up, I wanted to go early, get a gel into me. So I did that. This is where I saw Monique for the first time, hence the great photos. At this point I'm feeling really good. The pace was right where I wanted it. So as I approach the halfway point here, I've just gone out, it's probably been the longest stretch so far, had a drink station up at 16 Ks, again earlier than I wanted, but had to go with it, and had come back into a headwind, a 4K headwind, where I had someone trying to draft off me, got rid of them, I didn't want them sucking my energy basically. But again, approaching the halfway mark, everything was going to plan. My pace was 4:35 per kilometre, which meant I was pretty much spot on, and it meant I could let the kilometre pace drop to 4:55 per kilometre for the second half of the race. As I run past Monique here, you hear me yell something out, I'm yelling out, the race starts again. I'm in a good head spot right now.
Looking good. You're smashing it, Andrew. You got this, mate.
And I do my recovery lap 5 days post-marathon down here at the Mill Pond, following Mill Pond Miles with the Hillbillies. It's a good chance to reflect on the race, and after that halfway point, where, as I said, the race starts again, all I had to do was nail 4:55s and a Boston qualifier was mine. A couple of things happened, and I think they played a crucial part in what maybe unfolded over the next 21 Ks. Firstly, the first 2 kilometres I ran after that halfway point, I nailed my pace again that I'd set out at, around the 4:33, 4:35 mark. And in my head, I'm thinking I've just gained 40 seconds. For that briefest of seconds, I started thinking ahead to the finish line and thinking this could be my day. A Boston qualifier could happen. That was the first moment I actually started to feel a tingle in my toes. Was it the cramps coming on? I'd opened the door. Instead of focusing on the kilometre I was in, I'd started thinking ahead. Probably in the next K, it would have been the next K, I suffered a brief anxiety attack. My legs went to jelly, everything went dizzy, and I paused in the middle of the road and told myself, come on Andrew, you got this, we're doing well, let's keep going, not now. And I continued on. And again, I brought the pace where I needed. That pace where I stopped briefly for the anxiety attack was slow. It was my first time I'd gone to above 5 minutes, but then I brought it back down to the target I was after. What I didn't know was the cramps were going to start increasing. The legs muscles were getting tighter. It is a marathon. It's going to hurt. And I had to keep pushing that pace, trying to keep on top of it as I headed back towards the main road, knowing I had a final 8 Ks to go. So as I turn onto the main road, and these photos are taking me again, this is the first time that my kilometre pace has dropped for the first time behind the Boston qualifying required pace. In my head, I'm doing sums. Everything's seizing up. I'm starting to cramp. The quads are tight. But in my head, I've done calculations. I'm still in a good mental spot. I still believe I can do it. So I've decided there's a drink station coming up ahead. I've got a Hammer Fizz tablet to have. It helps with cramps. And I'm going to have a stretch of my quads. Little did I know that's the biggest mistake I could have made. As soon as I lifted the foot off the ground to stretch the quads, my hamstrings cramped big time. And probably it was when the Boston qualifier went out the window. I was forced to walk and run it in from there. It was a long 8 Ks, but I was determined to get to the finish line. Because I'd run the first 34 so well, the best I think I've possibly run a marathon, most consistent anyway. So I wanted to finish the race, and so I did. When you're forced to finish a race, walking and running in, you've got plenty of time to think about it. I had a couple of people come up to me and walk with me for a bit, chat to me. John Morris, shout out to you, mate. Thanks for helping me. So lots of positive thoughts. Told me to keep my head up. I can get my Boston qualifier in Newcastle, and hopefully we'll be in Boston together next year. Another guy, I don't know his name, but he stopped. He's actually going to Boston this year, and he was, in his words, he was having the worst marathon of his life. That's running. You know, the community comes together and we help each other to the finish line. And just having those brief conversations, sort of, not that I was in a bad spot, but I was down. The Boston qualifier was there to be taken that day. I'd run 34 Ks really well and then cramped to see it snatched away from me. So you do go into that little bit of self-pity, I guess. But after having the chat to the guys and speaking to some fireys on the side of the road who encouraged me to the finish line as well, I thought, why waste time? Newcastle is only 6 weeks away. Let's turn this, the last part of this race, into a training, day one training for Newcastle. And so get used to running with the cramps happening, the tight legs. And so I did a Mona, famous workout by Steve Monaghetti, fartlek style, varying speeds. And I did that, not that it was overly fast, but it gave me something to focus on and gave the mindset positive towards Newcastle. And that's what was important in finishing this race.
And a one-arm band to do 10 Ks. Dislocation or fracture. Something.
I had the fourth one when the guy gave me the water. I probably needed it 2 Ks earlier.
Good job, how was it?
I think it was 30.
It's always different, isn't it? Especially today. Congratulations, Glenn. Nice work.
One put in front of the other. So as I crossed that finish line with mixed emotions, disappointment of missing out on a Boston qualifier, jubilation and feeling proud within myself of what I'd achieved, how I'd handle the lead up to the race itself, my consistency in that first half. I ran faster over that distance, at 23 Ks, than I thought I could, I'll be honest. I really didn't think I could hold that fast pace for that long. So super proud moments there. What have I learned from the race? One, I've got to keep that relaxed attitude that I had at the start with my next race. As I said, I was super proud of that. Secondly, always have an extra gel. I had 4 gels on me that day. There was 1 in the car. I should have squeezed it into the pouch. I knew it was going to be hot. That 1 gel could have made a difference. The electrolytes on course were weak. I'm used to drinking full strength Gatorade. That, I think, had a big bearing on the cramps coming on. I haven't cramped before in a race. Not like that. So I think having the weaker electrolytes had a bearing, especially with the heat. The wind wasn't in my favour, the headwind. I had 11 Ks at 4 Ks and 7 Ks overall headwind. Did it cost me the race? Maybe I could have run smarter. I kept pushing the faster pace during that period. Maybe I should have backed off a bit. And I think that if you have to put your finger on the one thing that you could change, I shouldn't have stopped. I shouldn't have tried to stretch, because that wasn't going to help. It made it worse. It brought the cramps on big time. There's a saying, I can't think of it. I'll put it at the end if I can find it. But you got to embrace the pain. The pain's important, and it happens in a marathon. If it was easy, everyone would do it. If I want to achieve a Boston qualifying time, I got to get better at handling that pain and not stop, not listen to the head that says stop and stretch will make you feel better, you better run faster. I stopped and tried to stretch and made me run slower. You got to embrace that pain and keep pushing right through to the end. And so we push on towards Newcastle, 6 weeks time or 5 weeks time, 2 days, at my second attempt for 2023 of a Boston qualifier. And then UTA 100 down at Katoomba. Both those races running for the Heart Foundation, raising awareness of heart disease, raising funds, the important funds for the Heart Foundation so they can continue their work. Please consider sponsoring. I'll put the link in below. Any amount, small or big, is truly appreciated. And so the training continues. I learned from my mistakes, the lessons I've learned from Orange. It was a bonus race. It wasn't on my program until Australia Day, when they announced that they had had the course measured and was approved internationally as one that could be used for qualifiers and official times. So it was worth having it as a bonus round, a bonus run, just in case I was able to run a qualifier on it. The focus is on Newcastle, as it has been, and we give it another crack then. Every kilometre, as always, running with heart. Thanks for the support, everyone. I'm going to finish off this recovery run.